All right, welcome to the Gaming Lounge Podcast, episode 32. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and I'm joined by Dory. How's everything going on this Thanksgiving week?
It's Black Friday when we're recording this. Doing pretty well. Um, Stuffed my face full of food yesterday. Watched the Mystery Science Theater. Took a big food coma nap and slept in today. So I'm living it up.
Yes, so it's been Thanksgiving, so I've had a week off, and I've had a lot of time to play some games, and it's been a lot of news that we missed because we missed the last 2 weeks. The first week because I was
Yeah,
sick, and then the second week was because Dory went somewhere. So
I went to New Jersey for AEW.
So this episode is going to be pretty loaded. We got a lot of news, and we got to talk about the Game Award nominations, which was a big topic, and all the games we played this week. So let's start with some news about FromSoftware with Sony. So I'm using Eurogamer as the source. So let's start with Sony in talks with FromSoftware. So it says PlayStation maker Sony is currently in talks that would likely see it acquire a controlling stake in FromSoftware, who is the developer of Elden Ring, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne, as part of a buyout of its owner, the Japanese publishing giant Kadokawa. So the thing is with that is they don't own Dark Souls. Dark Souls is owned by Bandai Namco. They do own Bloodborne. Sony owns Bloodborne, the IP, and Elden
Right.
Ring. I'm not sure on Elden Ring. I think FromSoftware probably owns Elden Ring.
I would think so.
Yeah, and then Sekiro. I think Activision published that, but I don't think Activision owned. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Wow, that is really messy.
But either way, you get a really awesome developer to own and make games for you. I'd imagine that it will stay exclusive. I imagine it would stay on PC and PlayStation. It wouldn't shock me if they kept it exclusive away from Xbox just to be petty. Like that's just something they've done in
Right.
the past. But I don't
Yep.
see them not putting games on PC if this was the case, because it just you lose way too much money. It just makes no sense. And Sony's put games on PC before, and they're incentivizing PC a lot nowadays. They're starting to put games more and more on PC day one, like multiplayer games. And I'd imagine the single player games won't be too far away. But anyway, so obviously Elden Ring sold 25 million copies worldwide. Sony already owns 14% stake in From Software and already has ownership of both the Bloodborne and Demon Souls franchises. So they do own Demon Souls too. From Software, meanwhile, owns the rights to Elden Ring and Sekiro. Okay, so this article answers that. This deal would likely result in PlayStation gaining the 69.6% stake in From Software that Kadokawa holds, meaning it would hold a commanding 84% of the company. The Chinese
Jesus.
giant Tencent currently owns the remaining 16%. Uh, Kadokawa owns various other studios too. These include Octopath Traveler and Tenchu developer Acquire, which recently developed Mario and Luigi Brothership for the Switch. Uh, and it also owns Sharon, I think, the Wanderer Studio, Spike Chunsoft, and RPG Maker developer Gotcha Games. And they also, but the other big topic in this news though is that how much is for anime and manga, because they own a big part of anime, and
They own a lot of manga and anime at this point.
Sony already owns Crunchyroll and Funimation. So
Yeah,
Sony just wants
correct.
a monopoly on you know manga and anime. Uh, the last time PlayStation made a big purchase, it didn't really go very well. They purchased Bungie, and it's been it's been a disaster, really. I think they regret buying them, but so we'll see. But it doesn't mean this is definitely happening. Of course, they have
Right.
to from software have to say yes, and according to the article, going back, let's go to uh back to the article. There's two parts to this, so let's see. Kadokawa acknowledged that they acknowledged the takeover. They said from a full statement. They said there are some articles on the acquisition of Kadokawa Corporation here on after the company by Sony Group Incorporated. However, this information is not announced by the company. The company has received an initial letter of intent to acquire the company's shares, but no decision has been made this time. If there are any facts that should be announced in the future, we will make an announcement in a timely and appropriate manner. So they're not denying it, but they're not. They haven't said yes. So how do you feel about this news?
Yeah, I'm all kinds of mostly negative about it. I don't feel like Sony needs to own a lot of things. And after companies have bought up other studios only for them to then lay off a bunch of people, I just don't feel positive about it anymore. Um, I don't have a lot of association or affiliate, sort of attraction to the Dark Souls series, so it doesn't affect me on like a personal basis, but I do worry about Sony having that much. I mean, you look at that much monopoly, like you look at like what they've done with Crunchyroll, and like, yeah, I still enjoy Crunchyroll, but I can't deny that they got rid of the Funimation app, supposedly combined the two apps, Crunchyroll and Funimation, that is, and then said it was going to be better, and it has been ostensibly worse. Now, again, I still enjoy Crunchyroll, but I can't deny that they've lost a lot of stuff that Funimation used to have. There's a lot of anime that Crunchyroll now has that that or now doesn't have that it should have had if Funimation really did come into Crunchyroll. All this just to say, I just don't have a lot of faith in Sony doing a good job about this. I just also am, on principle, skeptical of more media consolidation and more corporations monopolizing spaces and stuff. I mean, just generally, I'm against that. So, just generally, I'm not in favor of this. I don't like that this could happen. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet, but they are obviously considering it. I don't really care if Sony has a stake in it or whatever. 14% is, it's something, but it's not much of something. So that's not a big deal. But it's disheartening. I mean, given off what they've done with anime, I don't have any like real high hopes for this. And even if that wasn't the case, because of all the layoffs that have happened, I'd be very nervous for FromSoftware. And I can't imagine that they would lay off anybody from there. I mean, from with FromSoft, it's been such a successful company. But I mean, even in the even successful companies lately in the video game industry have struggled. So I don't know, who knows.
I
But yeah, I'm mostly negative about this.
I don't think layoffs is a concern if this happens, because I think Sony will not want to change anything about them. They're just too successful on their own, and they're just one of those studios where Sony can be just hands off and let them cook, and they'll be good. But I overall I guess I'm indifferent. And on one hand, I don't like consolidation of media. Like I'm against it. I didn't like when Microsoft purchased Activision. I just don't like that. But in terms of the game standpoint, or like a franchise standpoint, I don't think Sony will affect anything. I don't think Sony's gonna force them to make certain games. I think Sony's gonna be totally hands off and let them do whatever they want. They're just too
Right.
successful not to be like that. So
Right.
so I'm in two mindsets. I think overall I'm indifferent. Like, it doesn't bother me, but it doesn't like, I'm not excited about it. I think as
Yep.
long as I can play it on Steam, I'd be happy, which I think they would. I don't see why they would take away PC gamers place to
Yeah,
play
that would be
games.
foolish.
That would just be stupid. Elden Ring sold 25 million, so why would you change anything? And I know Sony already owns part of From Software, and they already have a working relationship, so I don't think anything would change. It's just a matter of, I'd be more worried if I was an Xbox only gamer, I suppose. But
Right.
that's even if this even happens. I don't know if.
Right. And I really don't know, with all due respect, I really don't know how many Xbox only people are out there. I mean, like, even if you're a diehard Xbox fan, you're probably gonna have a PC.
Yeah.
So
Now
yeah.
they're gonna start putting all their games on Switch too, if it's gonna be powerful enough. If they're gonna start doing that as well, imagine if they put on everything but Xbox. That'd be ridiculous. But
It'd be very funny.
yeah, but.
You can play it on the Asus ROG Ally. What about
Well,
the Xbox? Maybe next year. We'll
well,
see.
yeah. Well, Rogue Ally is just a computer, handheld computer.
No, I know. I was just trying to think of like the most abstract, like ridiculous example I could think of.
The Virtual Boy.
The
Uh,
Virtual Boy. That's right. Let's get the Power Gloves in Elden Ring. Let's do it.
that actually be cool. I actually would
That
play
would be
a
cool.
VR like
That would be
Elden
cool.
Ring game with
Yeah.
motion
VR
controls.
Elden Ring with Power Gloves. Call us Nintendo. We're thinking. We got some ideas over here.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm indifferent about it overall. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't see why
Yeah.
FromSoftware needs to. And from what I'm gathering, it seems like they're kind of like egging other people to purchase them to like drive up the price from Sony. Like I feel like that's one of their strategies they're doing. Like they're like, hey, we're kind of looking around. If you want to buy us, come. We'll go to the highest bidder, and so they're trying to. I imagine they're trying to drive up the price for Sony, and
Yeah. It's a smart business tactic. That's probably what they're doing.
yeah, and Sony has the money to do so. I mean, they're not Microsoft, but
Of course.
they can borrow money and all that stuff and come up with ways to buy them. It'd be a huge get. It'd be the biggest purchase they've ever made. I'd imagine it'd be more expensive
Yeah,
than Bungie.
bigger than Insomniac.
Oh, much bigger because Somniac wasn't even in the millions. It was a steal.
Right.
Uh, Bungie was like 4 million, I want to say. So I'd imagine this would be like, I don't know, 6 to 10 billion or something like that. From Software is huge, but I don't know. So we'll see. Anyway, moving on to some more Sony news. Shuhei Yoshida is retiring from Sony in January, which is massive because he's been there for 31 years. So
Yep. He's been there for almost as long as I've been alive.
You've been there is exactly my age, so my entire life.
Yeah.
Literally. So I'm reading off IGN. It says Yoshida announced the news on a PlayStation blog podcast on Tuesday. His exit will be effective on January 15th, 2025. Quote, I've been with PlayStation from the beginning, and this is my 31st year with PlayStation, Yoshida said. When I hit 30 years, I was thinking, it may be about time for me to move on. You know, the company's been doing great. I love PS5. I love the games that are coming out on this platform. And we have new generations of management who I respect and admire, and I'm so excited for the future of PlayStation. Yoshida is currently Sony Interactive Entertainment's head of Indies Initiative, although he's held various posts at the company throughout the years. Most notably, he was president of SIE Worldwide Studios for Sony Interactive Entertainment from 2008 to 2019. But as Yoshida,
so pretty much like 2000. Yeah. So pretty much PS3, PS4.
Yeah, pretty much. But as Yoshida himself notes, his roots with the PlayStation run deep. He's one of the initial members of Ken Kutaragi's, often referred as the father of PlayStation, team in 1993, and as he says on the podcast, quote, was the first non-technical person to join the team as the company, Sony Corporation at the time, started a plan to bring PlayStation to market. Elaborating further, he explained that his job as a lead in account management was, quote, to talk to publishers and developers in Japan in the hopes that they would make games on the PlayStation. So that was a really fun time, but also a really challenging time because not many people in the industry believed in 3D graphics technology at the time. All right, so Yoshida would go on to become vice president at Sony Computer Entertainment in April 2000, becoming senior vice president at SCE Worldwide Studios USA in 2007, before taking the president role in 2008. He called his most recent job, however, overseeing indies at SIE, a dream job. Quote, when I was managing PlayStation Studios, working with big studios, making AAA games was great, he explained. However, when I went to events like E3 or Gamescom, I always went to the indie game area. All right, and then he didn't specify what he's doing next, but I imagine he's going to enjoy his retirement, or maybe he gets in another...
Well, he says he's going to stay in the industry, but we don't know much more besides that.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Yes. He said he'd like to stay in the industry. So maybe he'll work for a different company, but I don't know. That'd be weird to retire from Sony.
It would be very strange. Be like that meme of like, what is that polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? But yeah, this guy was huge. I mean, especially prominent in PS3, PS4 era. PS3 era, not really Sony's finest moment, but PS4 was more of a return to form. So kind of a 50-50 kind of thing there. But
If it
Yeah,
wa-
this is a big departure for Sony.
yeah, if you're in the indies, that was one of the best eras for PlayStation, PS3, when
Right.
they were losing the Xbox and they experimented with all these crazy games and these crazy indie games, and a lot of people missed that day when Sony had to be innovative. Now that
Yeah.
the market leader for the last decade, it kind of been on cruise control a little bit. We haven't had any news for AAA games in a while from their first party, like Naughty Dog, for example. Um, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Of course, they've been there for 31 years. New management in charge now. Completely different management. Jim Ryan's not there anymore. They hired a bunch of new people. They have a new CEO and all that. So, Herman Host and all them are big players in the Sony now. Of course, this also happened on the 30th anniversary of PlayStation, and which they were celebrating, and they said PlayStation 2 sold 160 million units, which is the highest ever of a console. Pretty much everybody had a PS2. I don't know. I didn't know anyone that didn't have a PS2. Even people that didn't play games because it had built-in DVD player. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
just bought it
That
for a
was
DVD.
huge for them.
Yeah, I think people
Yeah.
just bought it for DVDs. That
Yeah.
was my DVD player too. Even though it's my favorite console. But yeah, it's sad news. I know people have criticized the indie focus on PlayStation the last, we'll say 5 years, 6 years, because they've been very AAA cinematic focused, and people were like, "What is Shu doing?" But I don't know if that's his fault. It's probably the executives higher than him making those decisions, but who knows? So overall, it's really sad news. I hope he enjoys the next thing he does. He's a great guy, very nice. Never heard anything bad about him. Just wonderful person. So I wish him the
Yeah.
best.
The fact that I've never even heard of him before is in the games industry, and he's such a big part of it is a good thing because, yeah, usually people talk about when they've got negative things to say about people in those high positions of power. So good for him. Like Seb said, hope he enjoys his retirement, or if he's just going to keep going in the industry, maybe join a small indie studio. I mean, it sounds like he had a lot to do with indies. I wasn't really gaming during PS3 era and even PS4 era. I was kind of in the middle of. But yeah, hope he gets to do whatever he wants, really.
Yeah, he was a big player around that time. When you weren't gaming that much, he was one of the big faces of Sony.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
makes sense. That's
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to some CD Projekt Red news with The Witcher 4. So, The Witcher 4, I'm going off IGN. The Witcher 4 has entered full-scale production. CD Projekt Red has announced as part of its latest financial results. The Polish company said that Project Polaris, the first installment in the new Witcher trilogy, has now progressed from pre-production to full-scale production. Quote, I'm proud to confirm that several weeks ago, the Polaris team wrapped up pre-production and moved on to full-scale production, the most intensive phase of development, commented joint CEO Michael Nowakowski. We are very pleased with our progress on the project, and I wish to thank the team for its dedication. And then it says, there's a quote, I'm thrilled to announce that Project Polaris has entered the full-scale production phase, game director Sebastian Cardone tweeted. With new challenges just around the corner, it's the talented and hardworking people who make me believe we can together make the upcoming Witcher saga a remarkable experience. No stopping now. Stay tuned for what's on the other side of the coin. And right, so they have 400 developers working on Polaris, the majority of its 650-person total development staff, so this is their main game they're focused on. That's down from the 410 reported at the end of July. 64 are working on Orion, the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. 42 on Sirius, the Witcher game developed by the Molasses Flood. And 18 on Hadar, CD Projekt's brand new IP. CD Projekt Red recently confirmed it has no plans for a PS5 Pro patch for Cyberpunk 2077, and based on its staffing for upcoming projects, you can see why. Alright, and then it says Polaris was announced in October of 2022. CD Projekt Red said it wouldn't be released until 2025 at the earliest. Obviously, that's not happening. It's not even close. Coming out next year. In August, Geralt Rivera, voice actor Doug Cockle, revealed the White Wolf will star in Polaris, but not as the main character. CD Projekt Red has long made clear that Geralt's saga had come to an end. It did, Witcher 3, meaning a new protagonist was fully expected for Polaris. But this was the first confirmation he'd be in the next game at all, and fueled some rampant fan theories. Yeah, so it's gonna come. Is it gonna take place after, before, side game? Yeah, we'll see. And the only thing we've seen of it so far is was the medallion. That's the only thing tease they've given us. So obviously, Dory,
Right.
you're not a big CD Projekt Red fan. You have not
No.
played The Witcher 3 or
Uh,
Cyberpunk,
uh, uh, no.
right?
No. I was gonna say something. So I did start The Witcher 3 because it was available through PS Extra, and I when I bought um the um the game that has you go through the storybook, I can't remember what the hell it's called. Plucky Squire. When I played the Plucky Squire, I got it for like $15 through PS Extra, and then once I got PS Extra, I was like, oh, look at all these games. So I played about an hour of The Witcher 3. I really liked the writing and the voice acting, and the graphics were good too. They were fine, you know. The gameplay didn't really grab me, but I understand it's just the first hour, and nobody raves about Witcher 3's gameplay. At least not that I'm aware of. So I have played an hour of it. I do plan on going back to it at some point, probably once my 2024 catch up is done. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed what I played. It didn't blow me away, but again, it was only the first hour, but I liked what I was playing. And yeah, so still no big love for CD Projekt Red. There was a lot of transphobia issues with Cyberpunk and stuff like that that just kind of turned me off from playing it. Um, but so I don't have a huge amount of interest in this. But I certainly recognize that it's a very important franchise for the genre that it's in. I don't know what would you call the Witcher series, like an action RPG or something like that.
Yeah.
So very, very important franchise, and obviously a huge deal for a lot of people. So hope it does well. Like I said, I enjoyed what I played of The Witcher 3, but it was only an hour. I'll get back to it at some point, and then I'll probably talk more about it. But because it was only an hour, I didn't really want to say too much about it. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm really hyped for this. Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, top 20 game of all time for me. I love The Witcher 3. I've beaten it a couple times. I'm gonna replay it again. I haven't played the next gen update, even on my PC, so I'm curious how that looks on ultra settings. I love CD Projekt Red. I thought Cyberpunk was a bit disappointment for me when it came out because I played the PS4 version, but I played it on PC since then, and it's fantastic. They fully fixed that game up. They're one of the best developers in the world. Their writing is very great. If you love RPGs, they're the people for you. Or if you love like open world action, like being absorbed in the world kind of games. I mean, these the game. They're the people for you. And The Witcher 3 has one of the greatest stories, acting, cinematography. Side quests are all memorable. One of the best side quests ever. They're arguably better than the main story. Yeah, it's really exciting news. I'd imagine this game's not anywhere close. Maybe 2027, 2028. But I don't mind waiting because it's gonna be awesome. Witcher 3 came out in 2015, so it has been 9 years. But they obviously worked on Cyberpunk as their main game, and now they're gonna shifting focus to The Witcher 4. Plus I believe they're working on a remake of The Witcher 1. I want to say. So the article didn't mention that, or I missed it, but either way, The Witcher is not going anywhere. Big franchise. Obviously, the Netflix show is very controversial. The writing and replacing the actor and all that stuff with Henry Cavill. It's a very famous book series. But yeah, it's a great franchise, and I recommend anyone who plays it if you're in the fantasy setting, which like I am. And yeah, it's amazing. So I'm really really hyped for this. All right, so let's move on to some Final Fantasy news. So, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth came out this year, got nominated for Game of the Year. Very great game. Dory and I both loved it. We have some issues
Yeah.
with it, but it wasn't our. It's not our game of the year, but we loved it. Um, and we're getting part 3, of course, which is the finale of the game, the finale of the trilogy. There's not much more they can do, considering
Yeah.
they got like the last disc of the original game left. But
I'm
anyway,
excited for it to all end happily. Just like all Final Fantasy games end, right, Seb? All right, go ahead.
I can't answer that.
No, I know, I know.
All right. So it says I'm reading off Video Games Chronicle. The director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth says it won't be getting major story DLC because the focus is on finishing Part 3. So of course, remake had the Intergrade DLC with Yuffie, and
Yep.
uh, and it added a bunch of story elements, and it was good. It was a good DLC, I think. I didn't
Yep.
hate it. Anyway, it says interview with the Daily Star. I don't know how to say his name. Naoki Hamaguchi explained that
Yeah, that sounds right.
while he was aware fans of the series have been asking for a similar story DLC for Rebirth, it won't be happening because he feels they would rather have Part 3 sooner. We
Correct.
definitely do hear the desires from fans, the voices out there that want that kind of thing. I understand it completely, but I think, from my perspective, when the fans really want to see the most is not necessarily DLC. They want to see the third part of the series as quickly as possible. So that's why we've decided to not focus the development resources on creating additional extra episodes for DLC at the moment. We really are putting all our efforts into getting the third game out as quickly as we can. So for the moment, that's where we're focusing our time. Earlier this year, Hamaguchi said he was confident the third game, will be one of the greatest video games ever made. And he called,
I mean, yeah.
yeah. So I'm mixed opinions about this. First of all, I do. I'd rather see Part 3 come out as fast as possible over DLC, but I think there's definitely DLC that can be had. We the one I wasn't an issue, but the one thing we didn't really get is development of Vincent's backstory, which is a whole thing that's connected to Sephiroth and his mom and all that, and the Turks and all that stuff. There's a whole mobile game that they made about Vincent's backstory that you could definitely do a DLC for. Maybe they'll do that in just part 3 as like as a chapter, maybe, right? Because Vincent didn't really get much screen time,
Right.
which obviously he's an optional side character in the original game, but still, he
Did you hear the story that Matt Mercer told about it, the voice actor for Vincent? He was called in. So this is really funny. There's a little side thing, but it's fun, so why not? So he was called in to do this is a famous voice actor. If you've never heard of Matt Mercer, I know you have, Seb, but like for anybody not who doesn't somehow know,
my favorite Leon.
he's Leon. He does the Dungeon Master for Critical Role. I mean, he's huge. He's
Mhm.
done a lot of voice acting.
Yeah.
And they called him and to do a really really small part, and it was like some boy or something like that. He was like, I was just happy to be included. Like Final Fantasy is one of my favorite games of all time, yada yada. And so he was like, so I was just happy to be there. And I guess they this is so elaborate. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. You go look this up on YouTube. But the his screen that he was reading off of started glitching, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but it said something like, "Do you accept the quest?" or blah blah blah. Blah. And it said like, "Do you want to play Vincent?" or something like that. It was like Square Enix did this whole elaborate hoax or prank on Matt Mercer because he thought he was just gonna play some random NPC kid who like got like one line of dialogue or some shit. And then he ended up playing Vincent. So I thought that was really cool of Square. I mean, that's a lot of effort on their part, but I thought that was really cool. But yeah, you're right that we didn't get a lot of Vincent in the game. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you have any more to say, go for it. I have some stuff to say as well once you're done.
No, that's everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, I'm mostly positive on this. Actually, I think if that's what they want to focus on, that's fine. I do think it's weird to say we think what the fans really want because, like, okay, it could be the case that some fans want this and some fans want that, and there's not like some deep psychoanalysis Freudian style that we got to do about like what gamers really want. But for me personally, I am one of those gamers who would just prefer to see the the next game happen sooner. I don't think there's a lot left to be told with the story. and you had a 50-hour game. I'm good on there not being any more DLC. I do understand that there wasn't enough Vincent lore. I think you could put that in the next game and be fine for me personally. But also, I don't have a lot of, I don't have as much knowledge of Vincent, and
I
I didn't play the Dirty Dirge. So,
yeah, Dirge Servers is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII, but so that takes place after Final Fantasy VII.
oh, okay, yeah,
But his whole backstory. The only problem with having his backstory in the main game is that like it's very in depth, and if it would hurt the pacing if like several chapters are dedicated to it. So it would work better as a DLC. But I think it would be better if they do a DLC after Part 3, maybe. Like I mean, they could do a spin-off game. You know what I mean? They could do a lot of stuff. They don't have to do a DLC. They can finish Part 3
right,
and then do something else. Final Fantasy 7 is
right.
the biggest Final Fantasy game, so they can do whatever they want. Final Fantasy 7 has a million games in the series, so
Sure. Yeah, I don't because of my lack of knowledge of Final Fantasy VII, the original, I mean, I just don't really know what they could do for DLC. I'm not saying it's impossible or that they shouldn't do it, but just from my, yeah, I guess I could say unique perspective as someone who didn't really grow up with. I mean, I played a little bit, but I got stuck as a kid and then I never went back. Um, it doesn't really matter to me, or like there's nothing that jumps out to me
well,
like, oh yeah, that had to be followed up on or needs to be DLC. So
sure. I mean, to be fair, a lot of Vincent's story is not even in the 7. It's in the
ah,
mobile
it's
game,
in
the side
Erdrith.
games.
Yeah. Right.
So 7, the next Final Fantasy 7 is going to be very accurate to the not accurate, super close to the game, the original game. I don't think they're going to go
Yeah.
on some big tangent besides timeline stuff.
Yeah. I think I think this is going to be a shorter game, maybe 40 hours instead of the usual 50 or 60. I think it's going to be a bit shorter.
There's a
Maybe we get what?
I think it's gonna be on the same length as Rebirth because there's a lot they haven't done yet. I could see them padding out certain sections. I can't say because it would be a spoiler for you, but
Right.
I could see them padding it out to Rebirth level because there are a lot of story elements you don't know yet that they have not hit on
Right.
yet. So
Right.
I think it's gonna be as long as Rebirth.
I guess really what I'm hoping for is that they slim it down a little bit. I don't really need
Mm,
another 60-hour or 50-hour game. I think 40 is the sweet spot. But
yeah,
like you said, both of us loved Rebirth. Thought it was an excellent game. So it's not a huge deal, but I really need them to do two things: cut out some of the padding. Don't need to cut out all of it. That's fine, and make the open world
yeah,
exploration a little better.
I agree. My biggest problem with both the remake and Rebirth was that there's too much padding and the side quests are
Yep.
not the best and they feel like they
Right.
just drag out the pacing. The pacing just it needs to be a little faster, but at this point it's third game. I don't think they're gonna fix that. I think it's probably gonna be the same.
Yeah.
But I still love them, so I'll have and what I'm excited for is that it's gonna be on PC probably day one now, because Square Enix is struggling and they realize that they can't do these exclusive deals anymore. So I'd imagine Rebirth's gonna be on PC next year, and then I imagine the next game will be on PC day one as well. And I'll play through the whole series again because Final Fantasy 7 is huge, and I strongly recommend people play the original game on PC as well. There's mods you can use to make the graphics look better, and there's also mods that give voice acting to the dialogue, so you can actually play the whole game with voice acting. I recommend that if you want to experience the original game as well. But it's very turn based, so if you like action RPGs, it's not for you. It's very old
Right.
school. Anyway, don't mind me out of focus. It's my lighting because my camera is not used
I
to
was
me.
noticing that. I was like, what the heck? What
My
happened?
camera is not used to me like changing tabs or bright while there's daytime in the background, so it's confusing my camera a little bit. It'll fix itself. All right, so let's move on to. Actually, is there anything else you wanted to add before we move on?
No, just generally, I'm happy that they're skipping the DLC. I understand some people might be disappointed, but for me,
Yeah,
that's not a problem for me. So sooner the better. I'm imagining a 2026 release. I will laugh and die on the inside if we get the third game before we get Kingdom Hearts 4. Which at this point I think is going to happen. I think honestly that they're
yeah.
just releasing the whole fucking trilogy before we get Kingdom Hearts 4. because Square just wants to do that to me for some reason. I don't know why. So it's very frustrating to me as a Kingdom Hearts fan. I love Final Fantasy, don't get me wrong, but my real heart lies with Kingdom Hearts, pun intended. And I just wish that they'd fucking say something about the goddamn game because this radio silence is killing me. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So, yep, that's all I have to say about Final Fantasy.
All right, so the last news topic of the night, or the day rather, is the Game Awards 2024. We got all the nominees for each category. We're not going to talk about every single category because there's topics we don't care about, like best content creator or best esports team, but we will go through most of them. We'll talk about each category and we'll talk about the ones we want to win and the ones that we think are going to win. So let's start with most anticipated game, which is the games that are coming out usually the next year or close to it. The nominees are Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, Ghost of Yotai, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. So obviously all 5 games are huge. A lot of people are highly hyped for them. Right off the bat, the winner is going to be Grand Theft Auto. It's not even. It's not.
It should be. I'm not even a Grand Theft Auto fan, and I'm like, this is unfair. This is Grand Theft Auto 5 came out 2014, I want to say. Was it even earlier than that? Am I lowballing it? I think it was 2014.
It's 2013.
2013. Okay. I had a little voice in my head that said wasn't it 2013.
Yeah.
But it's been a 10-year wait. I know that Metroid Prime 4 is technically a longer wait, but nobody knows how the fuck that's going to go. You know, it's been passed around from studio to studio. It's been delayed. I guess you could say some of the same thing about Grand Theft Auto, but honestly, it's a lock. I mean, it's Rockstar. They put their 100% into every single game. The trailer, I mean, it got millions of views in hours, I think, if I remember correctly.
Highest,
it's Grand Theft Auto.
Fastest, like, was it the fastest growing video ever? Like, it was the fastest watched video ever.
It's ridiculous. It's no question to me. Now, me personally, I wouldn't take no. Me personally, I would say it's between Prime 4 and Ghost of Yotai. I think I'd have to go with Prime 4 just because I'm so excited. But who even knows if that's even going to come out next year? Whereas Ghost of Yotai seems like pretty much a lock. And I'm very excited for that too. Honestly, I've been thinking about going back and playing Ghost of Tsushima again. The director's cut, just because I never did.
On
and
PC?
I loved that game. Yeah, maybe PC. I could. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah, I could play it on PC.
I own it
but
on PC.
Yeah. And the important thing is, Seb, I could actually play it on PC with my current PC. But anyway, yeah, it's between Prime 4 and GOTY for me personally. But the one that should win is obviously, I would even vote for Grand Theft. I don't vote in these things because I don't care enough. I do want to put out one thing before we get really deep into this. I understand the Game Award nominations are very serious, but it's like the Grammys. Folks, let's not take this shit too seriously. Your subjective opinions are not any less relevant or important than these people. The only difference between us and these people is that they have more money, more platform, and they got Jeff fucking Keighley. That's really it. Like, it's like, I just think it's important to keep a centered mind about this stuff. People get all heated and they're like, oh my God. Now I am going to get heated about a couple things. So I'm a total hypocrite. But so people get all heated and stuff, but it's important to remember it's just a fucking game show. It's more about selling advertisers than it is about video games. It's been like that for years. Just don't take it too seriously. Try to have some fun with it. For me, it's probably Metroid Prime 4, but I would not vote for that. I would vote for Grand Theft Auto because, I mean, that just makes sense.
Yeah, the award show is definitely, it's for advertisers. It's very mainstream. A lot of mobile games, Call of Duty, shooters. It's not. If you're like a hardcore gamer that plays like JRPGs, like 90 hours of them, and you play a lot of games, like 50 plus games a year, this award show is not for you. We just watch it for it's a celebration of the whole year. Like it's fun to watch it with friends. There's reveals are always cool. I watched it for the reveals more than anything else. If I wasn't watching with people, I would normally just put it on the background and play a game and then have it like in the background while I'm playing a game. But anyway, I would vote for Grand Theft Auto, and my pick would be Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto 6 is I'm so hyped for this game. I can't even tell you. I love Grand Theft Auto. I played them since I was a kid. It's one of the best series in the world. It is one of the premier single player franchises in the world. But I'm hyped for all these games except for Monster Hunter Wild, only because I'm not a big Monster Hunter fan. But I understand. I know it's Capcom's biggest franchise now, so it's not nothing. It comes out in February, so it's only a couple months away. But Death Stranding 2, I'm very excited for. Ghost of Yotai the trailer looked awesome. I'm excited for that. I love Ghost of Tsushima. Metroid Prime 4 is going to be awesome. Metroid Prime is one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I hope they put 2 and 3 on the Switch or Switch 2 as a remaster, so more people can play them. Yeah, because they're really, really good games. So yeah, Grand Theft Auto. I think we both agree it's gonna win.
Absolutely.
And that's what
and it should win.
Yeah,
yep.
I agree.
Hands down.
All right, best adaptation would be Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. Now I know the Like a Dragon show is not well liked by the Yakuza fans.
It's not.
They changed
so
a lot
I don't
of
know
things.
why this is nominated.
Well, they only had so many things to pick, I guess.
I guess so.
Know people like Knuckles, but I don't think it's gonna win. And then Tomb Raider, there's a lot of controversy. I know people didn't like how she was designed, like the way she looks. Yeah, but
yeah, I thought those complaints were stupid. By the way, she looks fine.
But I think the problem from what I've gathered from that show is that the animation is very cheap looking. Like it feels like a low budget animated show. It's really between Arcane and Fallout, and I voted Fallout, and I think Fallout's going to win because it is. To me, I said this before. It's the greatest adaptation of a video game of all time. It's even better than Last of Us adaptation. I think Fallout is the perfect show. I've never seen something more accurate to a video game series while doing its own thing at the same time. It is. Arcane is amazing, especially season 2. It's one of I 100% recommend it to everyone if you have Netflix. But Fallout was not just widely praised; it was praised by people that are not even in the game industry. Like it was not, it's been nominated for like Emmys and stuff, like Golden Globe kind of thing. So people really, really liked it, and I think it's a fantastic show. How do you feel?
I have no opinion. Pretty much, I didn't watch any of these adaptations. Look, I probably would have watched Fallout, but it's on Amazon Prime, and I don't support Amazon. I don't watch Arcane because I don't really like the way that Riot works. It's corporate culture. And I also have no attachment to that franchise.
You don't have to. Arcane is total. Most people that love Arcane have no connection to Riot.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just giving an extra reason. I haven't watched Like a Dragon, nor will I. It's another Amazon stuff. I don't care enough about Tomb Raider, and I don't care enough about Sonic. So I haven't watched any of this stuff, is what I'm trying to say. Fallout should win. If Arcane wins, I think that'll be fine. But I agree with you. I basically agree with what Seb said. Fallout should win. I don't really care what wins because I didn't watch any of these. I don't really watch video game adaptations, generally speaking. They're usually just not my cup of tea. I'm not saying they're all bad or that they shouldn't be made. Just not my thing. Generally. I didn't even watch Castlevania, and I had no reason to not watch that. So yeah, I think Fallout should win. Will it win? No idea. But Arcane or Fallout seem like the easy win. If you've got stuff like Tomb Raider, Like a Dragon, and Knuckles in here, I really think you had to pick from the bottom of the barrel. Not because those were terrible, but just because I don't think they should be nominated, right? So I haven't seen any of these, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah. So let's move on to best multiplayer. Once again, another category that Dory is not really into, but
I have a strong opinion on who should win.
All right, so the nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. So what's your strong opinion?
All right, I was gonna have you guess, but Helldivers 2 should win. There's no question to me that Helldivers 2 should win. I have not heard anything about any of these games. I don't even know why the fuck Super Mario. I'm going to be quite honest with you. No idea why the fuck Super Mario Party Jamboree is nominated.
It's a
But
multiplayer game. It's a fun multiplayer game.
I know it's a obviously I know it's a multiplayer game, but like I just like come on, like that, like the game that infamously destroys friendships. But anyway, um, I think it should be either Helldivers 2 or Tekken, but I feel strongly it should be Helldivers 2. To just come out of nowhere, Helldivers 1 was nothing. I'd never heard of the game before. I had no idea what this game was, no idea why I should care. It blew up the entire internet. People loved it. The fan response was so strongly negative when they made a couple of backsteps, Arrowhead Games, I mean, that they corrected themselves and Sony corrected themselves as well. I mean, if that's not the sign of a strong multiplayer game, I don't know what the fuck is. I don't want Call of Duty ever to be nominated for anything ever. So that's just my opinion there. I don't have a strong take on Warhammer. It's good for a co-op game, but I don't know about multiplayer. But yeah, Helldivers 2 should win, and I don't really see any reason why it shouldn't. It was a huge game. It is certainly PlayStation's multiplayer game of the year. Not that there's a lot of competition, but rest in peace, Conquered. But it just should win. I don't really and I'm biased. I see clips all the time on highlight reel, which used to be a Kotaku thing and now is its own thing. But I just think the community they fostered has been incredible. The game itself looks really fun. I didn't play it, but I know Seb had a great time with it. So that's my strong take on a category I don't really care about.
I like all the nominations for this category. I think all of them are good games. I think this were a lot of people like the Call of Duty this year. Like people were happy with it overall. People really like the campaign. I think I haven't really I don't really follow Call of Duty like that, but the campaign was good and the multiplayer. It seems like people are happy.
I've heard the campaign is good.
Warhammer, great game, very underrated. One of the best games of the year, underrated. Tekken 8, best fighting game of the year. Helldivers 2, top 10 game of the year for me. And that's why I would vote. Helldivers 2 is the best multiplayer game of the year, I feel like. And I think it's gonna win. I guess it's not surprised. I thought it was gonna be nominated for game of the year earlier in the first half of the year, but as the year went on, more games came out, got stronger, and all that. So Helldivers got left out. So I feel like this is like the runner up. Like this is like the consolation prize for Helldivers 2. Because this was like the biggest multiplayer game in the world when it came out earlier in the year. It was everybody was playing it. It's amazing to play with friends. It's not really fun to play with by yourself, but with your friends, there's so many memorable moments. Like you could just straight up kill your friend on accident by dropping a care package, or like you're trying to summon guns and you accidentally drop it on your friend and they actually die. And there's friendly fire.
So good.
It's like it's really really fun. It's like Starship Troopers, the game. It has a lot of political themes in a funny parody way. So it's really fun. It's a great game. The Sony thing you hit on, heard it.
Yeah.
But I think it recovered now. It's not as strong as it was, but that's every game. I don't think it's because of that. I think it's just because people move on nowadays. They don't stick to the same game anymore. But yeah, Helldivers 2 got this on lock, I think. But we'll see.
I think the most important reason why it should win this category is because Helldivers 2 is single-handedly responsible for spreading democracy. I will not be accepting any questions at this time. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll do best sports and racing really quick. I know you have no opinion about it, but I have a criticism of this one.
I want WWE to lose. I'm like that. I'm like that guy in Star Wars who's like, I don't care who wins as long as WWE loses.
I'm just confused why NCAA 25 was not nominated. I mean, it was a huge football game when it came out. Like people were dying for a new college football game. It was 10-year wait. It was a whole license issue. I think I hit on that when I went over it this year on the podcast. How is it not even nominated? Is there a reason why it was not nominated? But I think NBA 2K25 is going to win because they finally gave us a next-gen version on PC. PC always got the shitty, like PS4 version for whatever reason. They finally decided to give us a proper PC version, and people were very happy with this one. Obviously, it has microtransactions, all 2K bullshit, but people were generally happier with this one. I think. So I think NBA 2K25 is gonna win. I know the wrestling. I know WWE was uh pretty well liked. It still has its 2K bullshit too, but I think people were generally happy with it. I have it. I played it a little bit. I probably should go back to it. I kind of wasted my money on it, I guess, because I didn't really play it as much as I wanted to. But I will play it. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to hit on that really quick. All right. Best strategy game. I know Dory's not really in the strategy games either, so let me just hit on this really fast. This is a really good. This is a really well nominated category. Age of Mythology Retold, Frostpunk 2, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. Another game from Atlas. Very strong category. I th- I feel like Manor Lords is gonna win because that game took Steam by storm when it came out. Like I feel
It
like
did.
so I feel like that's gonna win. Um, Unicorn Overlord is really well liked by a lot of people. For whatever reason, it's not on PC. It's on everything but PC. It's on Switch,
Weird.
PS5, Xbox, but it's not on PC. Um, but yeah, that's a great game. So if I had to pick, I would vote for Unicorn Overlord, but I think Manor Lord is gonna win. You have an opinion about this category, or do you want me to move on?
I kind of do. I feel like just because of how unique it is, that Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess should win.
Mm,
But I don't have. It's not a strong take or anything. Like I'm not. Unlike some of the other categories where I have strong takes and feel like something should win.
mm.
This is just like teehee. I think it would be cool if Kunitsugami won, just because it was so unique and interesting, and it was done well.
Yeah.
Obviously, given it was nominated. But I mean, other than that, I don't really care. I haven't heard too much. I mean, I have heard about Unicorn Overlord. I don't know if I was looking at the game up right now to see if I'd even like it. I know it's a tactical RPG, but I've changed my mind on RPGs lately. But I don't know
Mm.
if it's like too crunchy or too tactical or something. Oh, it's like an RTS. Is it like an
Yeah, it's a
RTS?
strategy game. Yeah.
Oh, fuck that. Never mind. Sorry, the switch up on that was wild. But yeah, I think Kunitsugami should win just because it's a cool kind of throwback and it's a cool mashup of different genres. I just think it'd be neat. I'm just like Marge holding the potato. I
Yeah.
just think it's neat.
Yeah, strategy games are not my one of my bottom genres. And they're just not a genre that clicks with me a lot. But I do appreciate some good ones that I like. But overall, not my kind of genre. All right,
Right.
moving on to best family games. Normally, what we call this the Nintendo category, but in this case, I don't think
That's
Nintendo.
not as much. Yeah, it's not as much.
Not this time. So we have Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. Excuse me. How I would vote, I'd pick Astrobot. I think this is the only award that Astrobot's going to win, unfortunately. So I think this is where, or, well, actually, it might have a chance in another category, but overall, I think this is the best family game, Astrobot. But I think Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom has a strong case. I think Princess Peach has no chance because it was like a 7 out of 10. It had issues. I don't think a lot of I'm sure it sold well and everything, but it's a single player game. Not I don't people really don't talk about it. Like I think people remember. I think the trailer of like Princess Peach turning into things was more memorable than the game itself. But it was
For
it
sure.
was it was a good game though. It just wasn't a great game. Jamboree, I know has no chance. And then Plucky Squire, people liked it, but it's very short and kind of flew by the wayside. It kind of
Yeah, it
went
was a
and
great game,
came and
but it
went.
has no chance. It has
Yeah,
no chance.
so I think Astrobot's gonna win. Um, but Zelda really, I can. This is one I can be wrong. I think Zelda has a strong case because it's like the best chance of Zelda winning an award. So I'm kind of torn, but I think I would pick Astrobot, and I'm gonna say Astrobot's gonna win this one. What do you think? I know you haven't played any of these
I would.
games, but
I know. I haven't even.
besides Plucky Squire,
I've right. I've played. I swear to God, y'all. I've played like almost 50 games this year, and just a lot of the games they're nominating, I just haven't played, as we will see in the next category as well. But yeah, I think I like Lucky Swire, but it should not win. Astrobot should win. Even I think that, and I am not big into platformers or the Astrobot series. Um, I did enjoy the couple last Astrobot games I played. Um, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, from what I know about it, it should win. I don't really think there's much debate about that.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it's
my non-controversial opinion is that it should win. If Echoes of Wisdom wins, cool, I guess. I don't know. I have like negative opinion on that. It reuses the stuff from Tears of the Kingdom, and so I have
you mean
some small bias against it.
Tears of the Kingdom? Or you mean the other one, Link's Awakening?
Well,
Right
Echo.
now.
Well, they reused the animation from Link's Awakening, but they also reuse the building mechanics,
Oh,
from Tears of the Kingdom. That's
oh,
what I mean.
yeah. It's a really good game. But Astrobot is like one of the greatest platformers I've ever made. I've seen people say it's the greatest PS5 game to this point. People really, really love it. It's a 94 on Metacritic. I mean, it's a monster game. One of the greatest platformers. I play a lot of platformers. It's not as good as like the best Mario games, but it's definitely in the top 10 of platformers of all time. So that's that's a big company there. So we're talking like Mario Galaxy, Super Mario 64, Super Mario World, Banjo Kazooie. I think it's on that level of quality, in my opinion. All right, so let's move on to we got best fighting game. Well, you got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiversus, and Tekken 8. So obviously this is gonna be between Dragon Ball and Tekken 8, but Tekken 8 was a massive success. Very highly rated. It got like a 90 on Metacritic or 91 or something, maybe even higher. Tekken 8's the best game on this list. Sparking Zero, not good game. Kind of disappointing for me. It wasn't like mind blowing. It wasn't what I was hoping for, but it was still a
Yeah.
good game, and I was happy. So not saying it's bad or anything, but I think Tekken 8. I play Tekken 8. I love Tekken 8. It's the best fighting game by far. It's not even close, I think. So I think that's a shoo-in. So I think it's gonna win, and that's why I would pick. So what do you think?
Uh, yeah, I was even less taken with Sparking Zero than Seb was. I actually think it should be Marvel versus Capcom just because of how beloved that is and how
Mm,
much Ryu giving Cyclops the handshake broke the internet. I know that's kind of a silly reason to give it the nomination,
yeah.
but I think it's between MVC and Tekken. I don't really care who wins. I feel bad saying this, but I'm kind of just as long as Sparking Zero loses, I mean I didn't even hate the game. I don't know that it should be nominated, but
No, I think it definitely should be
um,
nominated. There's only so many fighting games in a year, so
right, I get it.
it was a big game.
Yeah, yeah. It was a big game. I think it's between MVC and Tekken for me, and I would personally pick MVC. But I have no problem if Tekken 8 wins.
Yeah, I think Tekken's pretty much a lock to win that, but we'll see. But I don't. It's just one of those. It's the best, most highly rated fighting game of the year. All right, now things are getting tougher. So we're gonna get into
This is
best
gonna fucking
RPG.
kill me.
All right, so
That is gonna fucking kill
You
me.
got Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor Refantasio. So all five of these games are good. I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is the worst game of this list. It's still a good game, but it's not on like the next four games are much better, in my opinion. Dragon's Dogma had a lot of issues, but we're talking purely role playing. So like obviously last year, like the best role playing would be Baldur's Gate because you can actually role play in any form, right? Like you can do whatever you want, pretty much. So which game does the best role playing is the question. I think Shadow of the Erd Tree is an RPG for sure. It has stats and armor and all that, but it's not. Is it the best at role playing though? Not really, right? It's more of an action game. So I, to me, it's and then 7 Rebirth again. Kind of like Shadow Erd Tree, more of an action game with some RPG elements. Like if we're talking pure RPG, it's between Like a Dragon and Metaphor for me. And then ultimately, I think it's Metaphor because you make a lot of choices, you relationships, and I mean the calendar system, and it's very like you're role playing as the main character, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But Like a Dragon has a strong case too. But I would vote Metaphor, and I think Metaphor is gonna win. But it wouldn't shock me if Like a Dragon wins. Yeah. What do you think?
I'm the exact opposite. Well, first off, and we're going to talk more about Shadow of the Erd Tree, but get that Dragon's Dogma stuff out of here. Get Elden Ring out of here. For me, it's really just between Final Fantasy,
Mm.
LAD, and Metaphor.
Hmm.
Um, I think, when you talk about what makes an RPG great, this is such a hard conversation. All three of these games are in my top five. So it's so hard for me. But when I think about like what makes a good RPG experience, like you said, the role playing and obviously the gaming aspect, you don't get a lot of choices in Final Fantasy. You get more choices in Like a Dragon,
Hmm.
but I struggle to remember any choices that severely impact the story.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I mean,
side
the story,
stories. Yeah.
there's a lot of side stories, but mostly I don't know. It would be tough to do that. Definitely what you have the most choice in is Metaphor. I don't think the choices you make impact the story a ton,
No.
but you do get more of them. And like you said, the calendar system is very, role play. You have to kind of live the same life that the main character is living. Um, anyway, it's between Like a Dragon and Metaphor. My heart says Like a Dragon, but my brain says it's probably Metaphor. I don't have a problem with either of these games winning. They're both incredible games. Like a Dragon's my GOTY, and Metaphor is my number two. I have no problem with any of these games winning. Hell, even if Final Fantasy won, I'd be like, I don't know about that one, Chief, but like I wouldn't be that mad about it. So I think I'd pick Like a Dragon, but I think Metaphor is going to win.
Yeah. I'm happy with this list. Like last year, I was disappointed that Octopath Traveler 2 didn't get much love. I feel like this is very accurate. I mean, sure there's other games they left out, but there's only 5 choices. But this is like 5 of these games are in my top 10, so this is a good
Yeah.
category. So Metaphor is my pick. I think Metaphor is. We'll talk about that in the future. All right, best action adventure. So no, this is different from action. This is more of an adventure sense too. Like you're like there's a world you venture into and things like that has action in it. Just be mindful of that because people always mix the two up. They're like, how did that win over that? So we got Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost
A brutal
Crown,
category.
Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Oof. Well, I don't see Prince of Persia winning this, but it's a really good game. Silent Hill 2. I don't think of venture when I think of Silent Hill 2, but I'm not mad that it's nominated. Star Wars Outlaw I don't think is gonna win, but it fits the category. Um, to me, I think Legend of Zelda is gonna win this one. I feel like Zelda's gonna win one of these awards. I think this is the one. It's the definition of an adventure game. You have a world. You travel around. You do puzzle solving like Zelda games. You know what I mean? It just fits the mold of action adventure more than all the other games. Uh, Though you can make a case for Astrobot too because it has all these amazing different worlds. But I just when I think of because it literally says in the nomination, it says for the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. That fits Zelda the most. I feel like because Astrobot doesn't
Yeah.
have puzzle solving per se. Like there's parts you have to figure out, but it's very simple platforming stuff. So that's how I
Silent Hill 2
go.
Silent Hill 2 has combat, but it's not the highlight. It has traversal, I guess, but like
If walking
not
and running,
traversal.
yeah.
Walk right, like yeah, I guess that's traversal
It does
technically.
have puzzle solving
Yeah,
though. It does have the puzzle solving. Like
I was about to say it has that third part on lock. I look. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little salty that Silent Hill. I'm a new convert to the Silent Hill franchise. Hello, my name is Dory. I'm a little salty that Silent Hill 2 wasn't even nominated or even glanced at across the street as Game of the Year.
I
So I
agree.
think this should be its consolation prize. Does that mean it deserves to win? I don't know. I can't really say.
Uh,
I unfortunately kind of agree with Seb that Echoes of Wisdom matches is the best. When you think adventure, you don't think, oh, I'm going to go into this misty town and get haunted by my ex-wife and
Mm.
traumatized for years. But sorry. But I don't know. I would personally, because I'm salty, would vote Silent Hill 2. But I think what should probably win, unfortunately, is Legend of Zelda. I'd be hyped if Prince of Persia won, I guess, just because it's indie. Astrobot doesn't need to win; it'll win some other category. Outlaw shouldn't even been nominated, so get those two out of here. But for me, it's really between Silent Hill 2 and Zelda, and Zelda will probably win, but I would vote for Silent Hill 2.
So you not liking Ubisoft, you would be happy that a Ubisoft game won. That'd be interesting.
I would be. I realized after I realized that after I said it. It's just because it's more of an indie. I feel like it's more indie than Ubisoft usually does.
This is
But I guess you're
smaller.
right. It is
I feel
Ubisoft.
like it's a smaller
It is
team.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
It's a smaller team, so I'd be happy for them. But you're right, it is Ubisoft, and it's always fuck Ubisoft hours. So never mind Silent Hill 2 or Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. I like all these games. They're all good games. Star Wars Outlaw being the worst one of the 5, but
Yeah.
still a pretty good game. Yeah, I think Zelda fits the mold the most, and I don't think of adventure. I guess adventure could be in any survival horror game because you're adventuring into a creepy setting or whatever. But I just don't. I don't think of adventure when I think of survival horror. So I'd vote for Zelda, and I think Zelda's gonna win. I think Silent Hill 2 will get some consolation prizes, but I don't think it's gonna be in that category, which we'll talk about. All right, best action game. So this is purely action. So this is primarily on the combat. That's what it says on the website. Primarily on the combat. So combat's the big part of this. Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. So all 5 of these games are good. But I think it's between Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade if I had to pick. Although I think Warhammer also has a good chance. But I don't. The combat is really, really fun, and it's a blast to play. It's like Gears of War, but like Helldivers combined. And Helldivers is a blast to play as well. But like purely action, like focus on the combat, I'm gonna vote Black Myth Wukong. I feel like this is the only award it's gonna win, and that's how I'd vote. And yeah, so I think it's I'm gonna say it's gonna win, and that's what I would pick to win. So what do you think?
Yeah, Monkey. I don't really see. Look, I have some issues with game science as a studio. I'm not going to let that slide just because it's been a few months. The studio seems particularly troubled in some of their ideas about women. But as far as I know, some of those people aren't even in the studio, so whatever. But yeah, Monkey obviously should win here. Look, I liked Stellar Blade. It was a great game, but boy, that game had a real downside in the last 2 hours of the game. It really shit the bed in terms of pacing, in terms of the boss encounters,
Even the
in terms of
combat.
the story. In terms of the story, I guess the combat remains solid, but to me it just tainted the yeah, actually a little bit because the bosses felt kind of cheap in terms of the combat. Suddenly there was a big difficulty spike and the combat just felt like it didn't
Yeah.
hold up as much anymore to me. But look, I think Black Myth blows it out of the water. I'm not saying Celebrate's a bad game. It's a great game. But Black Myth it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
The action's incredible. I played it, and I'm not even big into that genre of. I know people disagree on whether it's a Souls like or whatever,
It's Souls light,
but it's
I
got
think. Yeah.
Souls light, yes. So that's not even my genre, generally speaking. Although I'm thinking about playing Nine Souls, so who knows? But yeah, Black Myth should win, and I would vote for it.
Yeah. I think Black Myth also has difficulty spikes, but the combat stays consistent throughout. Like the combat's always
Yes.
fun to play. Like it has its issues, but it's not the combat. It's never the combat. It's the performance issues. Obviously, you have to have like a boss ass PC to play it, especially for me. Even Act 6 kind of fell apart with the performance, but the combat stayed consistent throughout. So and the combat was incredible. It was a blast to play. Like I put 75 hours into it. I got every achievement. Absolutely love this game. I'm so excited for the sequel. This is an amazing game, and I think it's the best action game by far of the year. But I like every game nominated in this category. It's a good list of action games. All right. We're gonna skip best VR because I didn't play any of these, but Asgard's Wrath 2 is gonna win because that's like super well liked. Like we're talking like I think it's a really like 90 something Metacritic kind of thing. Like people say it's the greatest VR game ever made or one of the greatest. So it's probably gonna be that one. So let's move on to best mobile game. I don't play any mobile games, so I couldn't tell you. I know Balattro's on here, but that Pokemon trading card game is monster right now. Like everybody's playing it. I see like on Blue Sky. It's like
Balatro is definitely winning this.
yeah, if not Balatro is the Pokemon game. All right, so I couldn't tell you. So best debut indie game. So you have Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and the Plucky Squire. So if you ask me, I would take out Pacific Drive and the Plucky Squire. I don't think that has any chance of winning best debut indie game. Manor Lords has a good chance. It was very popular. Balatro obviously is a very strong contender. So to me, this is Animal Well's category to win. Cause I think Balatro is gonna win best indie game of the year. Obviously, it's a monster for indies. Balatro is like people just love it so much. Animal Well is beloved too, and I think Animal Well being Donkey's like debut game, being an awesome game, a Metroidvania like game with all these cool animals and sound. Really, the game is very unique. Like I really recommend everybody play it. I think Animal Well is gonna win this one, and I think Balatro is gonna win best indie game.
I think debut is the really important part here. Balatro and Animal Well are just in a league of their own. I'm happy that Manor Lords got nominated, I guess, but like you said, Pacific Drive, Plucky Squire, get out of here.
Yeah.
It should be Balatro or Animal Well. I have some negative opinions about Balatro at this point. I was indifferent to it before. I'm not the biggest card game player, and I understand that it's addictive. I refuse to play it because I know that I will. Look, I'm a huge hypocrite. Here comes a huge hypocritical opinion, okay? And everybody can call me out for it. I refuse to play Balatro because I know once I do, I will A, get addicted to it, B, understand the hype, and C, enjoy it a lot. Probably. I don't know that for a fact, right?
How dare you?
Right? But I refuse. I absolutely refuse. I will be a hater. I'm a hater alert right here. I refuse. So I don't need. I know. I don't need anybody to win. I just need Balatro to lose. Let's go Animal Well. Let's go Donkey.
No, you're right though. The best keyword is debut, and I think because the Animal Well debuted so strongly, they're like, oh my god, Donkey made an amazing game that's highly rated and really well liked. And it was I was on PS Plus like day one as well, I believe. I think it's gonna win, and then let's go right to the indie games, best independent game. Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and Neva rather. UFO 50.
She says it like Neva in the game, so I'm just gonna say Neva.
I think she says Neva. No, she says Neva in the games. I'm pretty sure when you put.
I hear it like Neva.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Either way,
weird.
I think Balatro has this on lock. I just it's the best indie. It got nominated for Game of the Year, so obviously the indie game that got nominated for Game of the Year is gonna win best indie game. Balatro's not gonna win. Game of the Year.
I've heard a lot of good things about UFO 50.
Yeah.
Lorelei's not for me. I did have it on my wish list for a while, but it's a puzzle game, and I don't really like puzzle games. Neva is a great game. Shouldn't win. And I mean, again, hate agenda against Balatro. So, it will win.
I think.
And should it win? Yeah. I don't know.
I think UFO 50 might have a shot because it's like a game that has a bunch of games in it. And
yeah.
But you have to really like those kind of games, but like Balatro it got nominated for Game of the Year, so it has this on lock, I think. So I could be wrong, but I think Neva is a good game, but I don't think it's on the level of Balatro or Animal Well in terms of like the two indie games I saw the most talked about this year was those two. So that's just how I feel. All right. Moving on to best community support. I don't even know how to vote for this. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14,
Baldur's Gate,
Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. I just voted for Baldur's Gate because I like Baldur's Gate. That's pretty much it.
Look,
They're good.
Look,
Larian's
anybody who
awesome.
doubts it, Larian's fucking amazing. They literally are like, no, we're burnt out on this. We're not doing another. And Hasbro's like, please don't leave us. And they're like, no, fuck you. No, look, Baldur's Gate 3, it should win. I'd vote for it. Here's why. They just added, or they're going to add, 12 new subclasses, 12 new fucking subclasses. They're going to add crossplay and they're going to add photo mode. I I rest my case. I don't need to say jack shit.
I agree.
Baldur's Gate should win 2 years in a row? Question mark. I don't remember if they won last year. They should win.
I don't know if they won that last year for that category last year.
Yeah, because it had only come out in August, so maybe not.
They won everything else though.
The game. I know I said I didn't say anything else, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to. But Baldur's Gate is literally more popular than it was last year. Now, not by a lot, but it has more people playing it than it was last year. How the fuck do you explain that for a single player game that, yes, it does have co-op abilities, but capabilities, but it's like, it's not a multiplayer game. It's not massively multiplayer. It's not, there's no microtransactions or whatever. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it's not an always online game or what the fuck ever.
It's amazing that, because they're very adamant they weren't doing DLC. Like, it's like, it's very hard for them to like not like want to do DLC for it, like just to add on the like the success of it. But so the next game is gonna be a banger too, because they just make bangers all the time. You should play their other games too if you're into BG3. All right.
Yeah, isn't that Divinity Original Sin?
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yeah, those are on my list. Yep.
I have them on Steam, so if you want to try them out, are they on Game Pass?
Yeah,
I want to say, but I'm not sure.
No, Pillars is, but not Divinity.
Because Oblivion, because
I always get those two confused.
Yeah. All right, no, not Oblivion. Obsidian owns
Obsidian. Yeah, I was about to say not Oblivion.
Yeah, Oblivion is Bethesda. Elder Scrolls. All right, best ongoing game: Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2. To me, people are just very lackluster on Destiny 2 nowadays. I just don't see that. Final Fantasy 14, I just don't see talked about as much. Fortnite can always win because it's Fortnite. Helldivers 2, and I think it's between Diablo 4 and Helldivers 2. I think Helldivers 2 has only been out less than a year, so I don't see it being best ongoing game because like it just came out this year. Diablo 4 just had a big DLC expansion come out. People really like it. It has its issues, but people like it overall. People think they fixed the game. I think Diablo 4 is going to win this one. I know you don't really have much to add for this category, but I think Diablo 4 is going to win this
one. Again think Helldivers should win. But if we want to think of a second second contender that should also win, I think maybe we should consider the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy 14 that has won several awards, now including Heaven's Sword, so you can play for free until level 60. I did just read off that meme from knowyourmeme.com.
It is a great game.
But yes, but legitimately, it is a good game. There's a reason why so many people fucking love that game. Fortnite can go to hell. Helldivers 2 should win. Diablo 4 can go to hell. I'm not happy with Bungie right now. They laid off one of my friends, so I'm gonna.
No, I think Destiny. I think people are just not happy with Destiny anymore. So.
No, I know that too, but I'm just saying it's all personal for me. Yeah. I got beef with them. So yeah, it's either 14 or Helldivers. I think Helldivers should win.
I think Helldivers has not been out long enough. I think Diablo has this one, but we'll see. I wouldn't be upset if Helldivers wins. I'd be happy to. All right, games for impact. So this is
what the fuck is Closer the Distance?
Yeah, I don't know what that one is either. For a thought, if you don't know, then I would know because this is your category.
This is my kind of game. Look, I played Indica is on my wish list, so I know about it. I played Neva, Life is Strange, Senua, and I know about Tales of Kenzaro. I just didn't play it because it's a Metroidvania.
Yeah, I own 4 of the six of these games.
It's Closer the Distance.
I'm gonna get Indica. So anyway, games. I always call this the narrative category, like this is always the narrative indie heavy games. I call this the Dory category. Now, Zhao has like the aspect of that, like it's about his dad that died, and I know people ruined it with the Baby Ink DEI conversation, and they made that game the focus of it. Unfortunately,
Stupid.
but that's not why I would not vote for it. It's just I'm talking impactful. It'd be Hellblade 2. It didn't really make me impactful. I don't know. It was really impactful. I think a lot of people were kind of mad on it. Like, people were kind of disappointed with it. People thought the first game was better.
I thought it was better than the first game, but I also know I'm in the minority. But even then, I just thought it was pretty good. I didn't really see anything that it did for
Like, impact,
narrative impact.
Yeah.
It didn't impact me. I was done with it. And I was like, cool, on to the next game.
Yeah, and Life is Strange we both liked, but was it impactful though? Like, I wasn't like it had some emotional moments, but it wasn't anything.
Sure.
But I've had more impact from like True Colors.
I cried a couple times to Life is Strange, but I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah. No, I cried really early on, actually. That's why I don't remember. But
I want to say
I would
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say Indica or Neva. I think it's one of those two.
I would say Life is Strange. I'm not going to be mad about who wins this category.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not true. I don't think Senua should win. Indica, I've heard good things about. It's on my wish list. I've never fucking heard of Closer to the I just looked it up. It's a get ready for this. Closer to the Distance is a slice of life sim that tells a deeply emotional story about the connections between family and friends in the face of tragedy. So that is why I've never heard of it. It's a life sim game. That's not my kind of genre.
Yeah, I'm indifferent about this genre. I would not pick Hellblade 2, but anything else I'd be fine with, I guess. I'm not really.
Yeah, I wouldn't. At first, I thought you were saying earlier. I thought you were saying Helldivers 2, and I was like, did he get confused?
No, Hellblade 2.
I would pick Life is Strange. I wouldn't be mad if Neva won. Look, I have to say it Neva because if I don't, I can't make Bostonian / New York references. So that would destroy me.
You live in New England, so you get a pass.
Excellent. I got the New England pass. Great. Yeah, I don't know. I don't fucking know who should win this. I think Life is Strange should, and I'd vote for it. But do I feel strongly about that? No, not really. I could see Neva winning. Indica had some really cool stuff going for it, from what I understand, but I didn't get to play it. And Tales of Gonzalo is just not for me.
This feels like
and neither is Closer to the Distance.
This feels like Neva's not going to win indie games, so let's give this the consolation prize of best, most impactful game. That's what it feels like to me. I feel like Neva's going to win this. You know what I mean? It feels like a consolation. All right, let's move on. Now, do you want to talk about innovation and accessibility? Because like I don't know how any of these games have accessibility, because I just don't tackle accessibility because I don't have a reason to.
I think accessibility. First off, I think accessibility and Seb and I both agree. Yeah, to be clear, Seb and I both agree. Accessibility is very important. It's very hard to judge, subjectively speaking, whether games are doing enough for them or not, because there's so many different people with different needs.
Yeah,
and not everybody even takes advantage of those needs. I would just say Dragon Age because it had a ton of options. But I've never played any of these games besides Dragon Age. So
I wouldn't know how to rate this because like I don't go in the settings and look at accessibility options to compare them because that's just something I need. The most accessibility options I use, I like to have subtitles in all my games because I just like to read while I'm watching because I don't miss any words. But I'm not. I don't require that. I'm not physically disabled in that sense. But yeah, you're right. It's so subjective. Like some people are blind, some people are deaf, some people have issues with their hands, some people issues with their arms. You know what I mean? Some people, you just don't know what some people are colorblind. You don't know what it's really hard to rate this unless you're like a game critic that like looks for this stuff. So I don't know how to rate this. So I'm just gonna
I think Guard should win, but yeah.
I voted Dragon Age, but I really don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move on. But we both think it's very important. All right. Best performance. We got Brianna White from Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. We got Hannah Tell from Life is Strange Double Exposure. We have Humberly Gonzalez in Star Wars Outlaws. Luke Roberts in Silent Hill 2. And Melina Juergens in Hellblade 2. To me, Luke Roberts steals this. Like
folks, this is incredible. Look at this. 4 women nominated, and guess who Sexist McGee over here picks? No, I'm kidding. I was immediately going to jump on you if you picked Luke Roberts.
Men got to stick together. No, it's fine. No, he
um,
when I was playing Silent Hill 2, I'm like, this is his award. Like he just put on one of the greatest performances ever in game. Like he single handedly probably brought back the whole franchise. Like because a lot of people played Silent Hill 2 for the first time, including Dory, and like he hit on the emotional impact of James' story so well. Like it's incredible. Like I know the Silent Hill 2 purists are like I like the original better because of like they like the weirdness of the acting and everything. It fits the tone. It does. It's different. But the Hollywood acting of this game was just mind blowing. It was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen from a lead actor in a game. So I think he's gonna win, and I voted for him. So what do you think?
I'm super torn on this category. I think Hannah Tell did an incredible job as Max. At first, I was a little iffy about her voice acting, but I got, because it's been years since I've sort of heard Max's voice, so it's just weird. Despite Senua not moving me a ton, I can't deny that Melina Juergens did an incredible job as Senua. Uh, and then, I mean, Brianna White's just an icon. Um, but I mean, Luke Roberts did great. I can't compare it to the original because I never played it for Silent Hill 2. I mean, but he did a really great job. Ah, I'm so torn on this. I'm really torn between Brianna White and Luke Roberts. I think both of them deserve it. Honestly, you could even make a argument that Melina deserves it as well. Um, I guess I go with Brianna White, but it's not a strong pick. There
I
is multiple people in here I think who are deserving to win it. So, with apologies to Humberly Gonzalez, I just haven't played Outlaws, and any voice
she
lines
does
I've
a good
heard,
job. She
I haven't been impressed by.
she's fine. Like it's not she's kind of like a Nathan Drake of Star Wars, but like she's fine, I guess. She's just witty, but I don't think she's like a best performance. And just when I think of Silent Hill 2, like the acting, like it was so focused on the acting and the emotions and the performance of the lead actors. Like it was none of the other games focus on like the pure acting, besides maybe Life is Strange and Hellblade. But even then, like Silent Hill 2 just did it way better than those games. And Molina already won for Hellblade 1, but I just don't think people like I don't see a lot of praise for Hellblade 2 like that. So
Yeah,
I think he
I
won.
see what you mean. I had forgotten that she'd already won, so I would take her out of contention just for that. But for me, it's between Luke Roberts and Brianna, and I think either one should win.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to best audio design.
So
Astrobot, Call of Duty, Final Fantasy 7, Hellblade 2, Silent Hill 2. It's Silent Hill 2. One of the greatest audio designs of all time. Like that game is absolutely incredible with headphones. Like it's top 3 maybe of all time in terms of like horror games in terms of sound and everything. It yeah, I think it's a shoe in to win this one, and I think it's gonna win. I'd vote for it. I voted for it.
correct.
You
I
agree?
completely agree with that. Well, yeah, let's just move on. There's nothing.
Yeah,
I know that Senua is lauded for its audio design, but it just
yeah.
doesn't compare to me.
Call of Duty always does a good job with the audio. But there's other games that just did it better. Final Fantasy, I just don't think of the audio. It was fine, right? It wasn't like I just don't think of audio when I think of Final Fantasy. Music, but that's a different category. And Astrobot,
Which we'll talk about right now, actually.
yeah, has good audio, but nothing I remember. All right, this one was really hard for me. This is one of those categories where like I had to really think about it,
This is fucking difficult.
especially since two of these games are my top 5 favorite soundtracks of all time and the original games. You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy 7 and
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 are two of my top 5 favorite video game soundtracks of all time. So is it cheating for Rebirth and Silent Hill 2 to be in here? Because Silent Hill 2 is pretty much the exact same soundtrack, just improved upon,
It's remastered and they
remastered.
added a little
Yeah,
bit here and there, and yeah.
but I have not played Stellar Blade, but I imagine the soundtrack's pretty good.
The soundtrack is phenomenal. It absolutely
Yeah.
deserves to be here. It's the best part of the game. It grabbed me from
Mm.
the first half. I might surprise some folks here. I kind of want Stellar Blade to win this. Now, will it win?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. But I loved its soundtrack so much. I went out of my way to listen to certain tracks. I didn't do that with any other sound.
Mm.
Now that doesn't mean that they're worse or better, but for me personally,
Mm.
Stellar Blade popped out to me the most. Now that's not to say I love Silent Hill 2's soundtrack. I thought it was incredible. Metaphor has an incredible soundtrack, and Final Fantasy had an incredible soundtrack. So for me, it's between Silent Hill 2 and Stellar Blade, and I guess you could say Metaphor as well. But I don't know. These are all so good. This is just
Mm.
degrees of difference. I want to vote for Dark Horse, and I personally would vote for Stellar Blade just because I went out of my way to listen to tracks, and
Mm.
I didn't do that for any of these other soundtracks. I know I didn't play Astrobot, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What I think is going to win is probably Silent Hill 2, but maybe Final Fantasy. I don't see Metaphor winning this, even though it did have a great soundtrack.
Mm.
It just doesn't have the pedigree that Silent Hill and Final Fantasy do.
Yeah. Astrobot has a good soundtrack, but it's not the first thing I think of when I think of that game. So to me, it's between Final Fantasy, Metaphor, and Silent Hill 2. But I think overall, I'd vote for Final Fantasy because it had a great soundtrack. It was a great mix of orchestral music. It had dubstep in it. It had techno in it. It had really different.
That's right.
It all mixed. It had like a dog remix. Remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. That was great.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy VII is my favorite soundtrack of all time. So it is a little cheating a bit, but Silent Hill 2 has a strong case. But I voted for Final Fantasy, but I think I have a feeling Metaphor is gonna win because it's like more recent and a lot of people really love it, and so I pick Final Fantasy, but I think Metaphor is gonna win this. But I would not be if any of these games win. I'd be fine, I guess. But
yeah,
but Silent Hill 2 or Final Fantasy or Metaphor or the three I would be the most happy with. I would be kind of upset if Astrobot wins, only because I don't think of the soundtrack, but I wouldn't be mad. It's just I just don't think of the soundtrack. It was a really good soundtrack. I just don't on the level of these games though. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's move on. All right, best art direction. So this is a really good category. I think all these games have an amazing art direction. Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Neva. Now, right off the bat, Neva has the most art focused game of this category, right? Because it's a very beautiful looking game.
So this is its category. If it doesn't win this, I'm gonna be flat out upset. That's literally why this game is made.
I didn't vote for it. I voted for Metaphor because the UI and the art style was incredible.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I would still vote for Neva, but I understand that.
But I would not. I'd be happy with any of these games winning. I think all 5 of these games have amazing art styles. Elden Ring already won best art direction, so are they going to vote for it again for the DLC? But I think all 5 of these games are phenomenal for art.
Yeah.
It's between Neva and Metaphor for me here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think Black Myth is a gorgeous game, but it's very muddy and it's not too often that you get struck by the colors, I would say.
It's not pure like the art style is I don't know. I don't want to say it. It's very Souls looking. It's very cinematic, third person. Like it's not something we've never seen before, which is not a bad thing. It's a phenomenal looking game. But when I think of art direction, like pure art direction, I think of Neva and Metaphor. Like that fits the category the most, I think.
Yeah, and I'm the same way about Elden Ring. I know I haven't really played Elden Ring. Astrobot doesn't really. It just feels like the same.
Elden Ring definitely has very unique locations, very beautiful skies and blue and light color. It's very, but it already won this category before, so I don't think they have.
It should be Neva or Metaphor. I will be happy with either. I think Neva should win, and I would vote for Neva personally.
Yeah,
I will talk about it later, but I literally got angry because of how not actually, but like jokingly got angry just from how beautiful Neva is as a game. Metaphor, I did freak out about the UI, but when you look at the actual game itself, it doesn't, for me personally, it doesn't hold a candle to Neva and the way that its art style is, but obviously they're going for different things too. So
I voted for Metaphor, but I guess I lean on Neva winning because it's just like the whole focus of the game, I guess.
Right. It's like I said at the beginning, this is Neva's category to lose, really.
but Metaphor has a strong case, I think. All right.
Yes.
I would vote for Metaphor personally, but that's just me. All right, best narrative. Now this is another one that's really hard. Because four of the five these games, 4 out of the 5, I really liked the narrative a lot.
Yes.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Infinite Wealth, Metaphor, and Silent Hill 2 and Hellblade 2. All right, let's just take Hellblade 2 out.
Right. Immediately.
Yeah. All right. Well, to me, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has a really good story. It does have some weird issues, like funkiness with the timeline shit, especially the ending. I can imagine a lot of people are confused by it. It's very meta, but it was good, really good, right? Infinite Wealth. I think that game is really good in terms of like being a game, in terms of like the exploration and the side quests and all the goofiness and the fun. How strong is the narrative? I didn't finish it yet, but like, how strong is the narrative overall? Like, is it?
It for me, it's brilliant. I mean, I love Yakuza. I love how twisty it is. You can certainly accuse it of, at this point in the franchise, being a little too high on itself in terms of its twists. I also think that the ending wasn't as strong as it should have been. um, that said, it's a really strong contender for me.
Hmm.
I thought Metaphor had some brilliant twists, brilliant. Uh, you know, uh, the ending went a little long. It kept ending and then not ending, and then
Yeah,
ending again and then not ending.
yeah.
Um,
We'll talk about
for
that.
me,
Hmm.
yeah, we'll talk about that. But for me, I think it's Silent Hill 2. From
Hmm.
front to back, I was very impressed by Silent Hill 2 and its story.
Hmm.
I was nearly brought to tears by some of the sections. I think it's an incredible game, and the story is really why you're playing it to begin with, um, not the gameplay. I think it's between Metaphor and Silent Hill 2 for me. And I loved Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. It's my GOTY. And I think the story is excellent, but there are some problems with the ending. There are some padding issues, and there are some you could accuse it of being too high on itself in terms of twisty McTwists, which I didn't mind. I like, but I understand if some people were like, enough is enough, just tell a straight to back story. But I mean, that's just not what Like a Dragon does,
Yeah,
really. So yeah, that's my take.
yeah. I agree with you. It's between Metaphor and Silent Hill 2. I was building up to Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is the
No,
best.
my bad.
It's fine. Silent Hill 2 is the best narrative. Silent Hill.
Yeah.
I'm cheating because Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. It's my top 6 games of all time, and I've written articles and talked shit out. Like, I just praise the shit out of Silent Hill 2 for 20 years now. And the remake did a phenomenal job recapturing the magic of Silent Hill 2. Metaphor has fantastic storytelling, twist, the political themes, all that. Side the characters are all memorable. All the relationship stuff is fantastic. All the side stuff is really fun. But Silent Hill 2, in terms of pure narrative, Silent Hill 2 has, as I mentioned earlier, the Hollywood acting, the performances. When I think of like the just pure performances, like the pure storytelling, Silent Hill 2 captures that. Not just because of the acting, but like the sexual abuse themes, the bullying, and all the really tough subjects it hits on. It does it so well, and not like in a very like respectful way. Like what I mean, it doesn't disrespect anybody. It really captures like what a sexual abuse victim goes through and how they feel. Like, and it's not afraid to like pull any punches. Like it literally ends with a character having a suicidal moment, metaphorically. Um, and how many games do that, right? Even James's endings can be different. Like you can have the suicide ending, you can have the happy ending. It's up to you. But I 100% in this game. I got all the achievements, and I done all the endings, and every ending is just as good as the other. I think. Even the dog and the UFO ending are fantastic. But best narrative. When I think
Obviously,
of
those are the canon endings. Obviously, they're going to be the best
yeah,
ones.
the dog one's
But
the canon ending.
Absolutely.
But yeah, when I think of narrative, pure narrative, Silent Hill 2. So,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Metaphor is second place for me. All right. But the rest, but Final Fantasy and Like a Dragon have really good stories too. All right. Best game direction. All right. So
This is weird.
Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor. Uh, Game direction is awarded to outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. To me, I would take out Balatro. I would take out Black Myth Wukong. It's a really good game, but it's Souls light, nothing new. We
I
haven't
would take
seen.
out Elden Ring.
I would take out Elden Ring because it's a Souls game we played before, like pure game direction. The game direction's great in that game. Final Fantasy VII. To me, it's between Astrobot and Metaphor. When I think of game direction, like Metaphor has like the amazing, has a cool calendar system, very unique way of storytelling, very unique, has really cool game like combat, cool turn based, like it makes turn based really hip. But I think when I voted for this, I think I voted Metaphor, but I want to say I voted for Astrobot. I gotta look. I have to check. I'm kind of torn. I can't. I don't think I can pick. I feel like Metaphor fits this more. I suppose you know what I mean. Because Astrobot is
I would
still a
go with
purely platformer, so it's not like
I
Mario
have
Galaxy.
no strong opinion on this. I guess Metaphor, and I would vote Metaphor, but this is so. I hate to say it, but like so corporate sounding game direction,
Mm.
outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. It's so to me that is so question beggy in terms of what the fuck does that even mean? This is just one of those categories that I'm just not high on as a category.
Mm.
I don't know. I
I
just don't know that it
I
really
think it
even needs to
means.
be here.
I think it just means like something that does something new or unique. Like you know what I mean?
But I just feel like Balattra's like a. I don't know. We already took out Ballatra, but Balattra's a fucking card game. Like, and it got nominated. Like,
Like it's poker
I don't
basically.
know.
To
It's
roguelite
poker.
poker, I think.
Invented in the fucking 16th century or some shit. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's just
I don't know. I just
yes, that's what I'm saying.
this is not a category for me.
I think Black Myth and Elden Ring, like they're both Souls kind of games, and they're very action based. And then Final
Right.
Fantasy VII has the combat is really awesome, but it's nothing new, innovative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, even Metaphor is just a Persona like. Astrobot's
Yeah,
just a platformer. I don't really know how you define, oh, this is so new and inventive and it really changes the way.
yeah.
I don't know.
It's very hard.
It is. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of the category. But I guess I'd go Metaphor if I had to.
I think I voted Metaphor because of the calendar system and that kind of like the difference with the
Right.
relationships and all that. I mean, I've done this
Sure.
before with Persona and other games, but
Right.
still, Astrobot would have won for me if it's just that the platforming is amazing, but it's still very simple. It's not Mario Odyssey where you can do way more unique things with the hat
Right.
and stuff, with the 360 like the really awesome jumps on the walls and things you can do with like Mario Odyssey and Galaxy. You can't do that in Astrobot. Astrobot is very purely, very simple up, left, right, down, straight, jump up on platforms and glide. It's nothing amazing. Like amazing, but not like game changing. I would say. All right, that was the last one before game of the year. So now we're at game of the year, and this is where the big conversation was. All right, so Balatro. Actually, let me just say first: Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Ray Fantasio. So it did not surprise me Balatro got nominated because they always nominate an indie game. I don't know if there's some quota he has to feel like he feels like he has to appeal to the indie developers or something, but they always nominate an indie game in some form. And sometimes they win. Like It Takes Two, for example, that no one saw it coming. But I don't know. Balatro just stands out from this list because like it just doesn't fit.
Really does.
It just doesn't fit. But
Right.
let me just pick mine. Metaphor.
Sure.
Metaphor ReFantazio is the greatest game of the year for me. I think it does the best. I think It has amazing UI, really awesome gameplay. My favorite cast of characters overall. Like Silent Hill 2 has the best performances and all that, but I think cast of characters I love all of them. The music is amazing, storyline is amazing, gameplay. It's just as everything. It's arguably Atlas's best game, and that's saying something because Atlas is just incredible, and I love Persona 5, and Persona 4, and this might be their best game, and I think it's that level. I think it's by far the best game of the year. Um, I think my number two is would be Shadow of the Erdtree, which also is absolutely incredible. It is arguably the best DLC of all time. It is so good and so big in 40 hours. Like it could be its own game. But it feels like cheating to put it in this list because it really you have to hit a certain point in the game to actually even do it. First of all, it's not like its own spin-off game. You literally have to
and you can get
to a certain
you
boss.
can get locked out of it. You can get locked out of it if I remember correctly from watching a outside Xbox video. You can make the wrong choice or some shit. I don't remember, and you could just get locked out of a 40-hour DLC that you bought.
It's just straight up. I would not include it. I think I think remakes, remasters. I don't have no problem with remakes making the list, but like DLC, remasters, remakes should have its own category. Like this should be in its own category. Like best DLC, best like spinoff. I don't know, something. Just it doesn't feel it. It feels like they just did that new rule to have Shadow of the Erdtree be there because they revealed Elden Ring at the Game Awards, and like Miyazaki and Jeff are just tight, and like it feels political, but and I'm saying that as someone that has Shadow of the Erdtree as my second favorite game of the year. So it's not like I hate this game. I love Shadow of the Erdtree. I think it's fantastic. I think everybody should play it if you love that kind of game. But I just I would not put a DLC in a card game in the top 6 games of the year, like nominees. It's just me. Balatro, I'm sure people disagree with Balatro. People really, really, really love Balatro, but I just don't know how you not put like Silent Hill 2 in here. I don't know how you not maybe put Helldivers here or something. Like I mean, like anything is better than a card game and a DLC. I just don't agree with it.
I would. So remember everybody, remember audience, where what I said earlier.
Like a dragon should have been there too.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Remember audience where I said earlier that we shouldn't get heated about this, and it's all it's their opinion is not any more objective than yours, and yada yada yada. This fucking list sucks. It doesn't actually suck that much. But I really don't like this list, honestly. And it's really just because of Balatro and Elden Ring. I have no problem with Black Myth being nominated, no problem with Final Fantasy, and I have no problem with Metaphor.
4 of them.
Astrobot, I'm a little
iffy on. No, it deserved to be there.
But that's I know what you're gonna say.
It's the highest it's the highest graded game of the year.
I know.
Tied with
and
Metaphor.
Everybody loves it, and it sold so well. I understand that it deserves to be there. Do I personally want it there? No, but whatever. Look, here would be my list, right? Personally, and it's just me. I would say Silent Hill 2, Black Myth, Final Fantasy, Metaphor. You put in Like a Dragon, and then maybe you put in, maybe you just have to put in Astrobot or something else for my top 6. I just look. I get that people love Balatro, and I want there to be an indie game nominated that isn't a part of Sony or isn't a part of, I don't know. You can't call any of the other ones indie. I understand that. To me, I just would have picked anything else. There's some arguments online. Well, Balatro is the most gamey game here. It's based on card games, which were the first game. I just think that's a stupid argument. No one's voting game of the year based on how gamey these are. Or, it's about it. Yes, it's about how fun it is, but it's about how of a complete package it is. And I just feel like Balatro is a card game, but there's not much more to it than that. And for some people, that's fine. Some people, that's game of the year material. But I've seen other people say it's
Yeah.
repetitive and it gets boring, and I just can't really abide. Of all the indies you pick, Balatro, really, I don't know. For me,
No, it's the best indie game,
and
but I don't think it belongs in the GOTY
I was
list though.
completely indifferent to Balatro until it was nominated Game of the Year. Now I just I don't know what we're doing here. For me, I agree with Seb. It should be Metaphor. Now, Seb and I disagree on Infinite Wealth. I think he
No,
hasn't
no, no,
even
no.
finished it.
Well, I think it should be in the top 6. If
Right.
I had to pick and we had to exclude DLC because Shadow of the Tree, on quality wise, is deserving to be in the top 6. It is. It is that
Right.
level, but
Sure.
it's DLC. So if I did my list personally, Like a Dragon and Silent Hill 2 would be here, and I would replace those 2 games with those 2. That's how I would.
Correct.
Which is my
I
top,
think-
and that
I
would be
think
my
that-
top 6 anyway, right? That would be my top
Right.
6. But that's how I would vote. Otherwise, I think Helldivers 2 would have a good case, but I think because of the Sony stuff and the fell off a bit, that's where I heard it. But like a Dragon was one of the best RPGs of the year by far,
Yes.
and I think it should be in the top 6. And Silent Hill 2, we hit on how good the narrative is, the soundtrack,
Sure.
the performances. Like, how do you not have this nominated in the top 6?
Yeah.
I that blows my mind. I'm more pissed about Silent Hill 2, I guess, not being nominated because I love Silent Hill 2 so much. And
Sure.
when you think of pure quality, it has everything you want in like a game of the year category. So, but like a Dragon should be there too, and it frustrates me that.
Yeah. No, and I just meant in terms of our
skipped them.
placement on our own.
No, I agree.
personal list
I'm just
for
saying
Infinite Dragon.
it's just frustrating. But
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Silent Hill 2 should be here. If it should be here, we should take out Balatro and take out DLC. I don't know. Like, for me personally, I'm not a big platformer. I understand Astrobot did really well, reviewed really well, sold really well, so I understand it deserves to be there. But I would feel bad if we don't have some kind of equivalent to Balatro. But anyway, that all aside, it's Metaphor for me too. Accepting it for what it is and not what I want it to be, I would pick Metaphor for sure. I have some problems with it. I think that there are some minor little nitpicks that I have throughout the game, especially like with the fairy who keeps talking to you, and just certain things about the dialogue, Gallica, certain dialogue stuff, and I wasn't really happy with them not making it more clear that I was out of my depth at the end. Yeah, so there's just certain things for me, but in this list, I mean, it's my number 2. I have to pick it as my as game of the year.
Yeah,
so it's Metaphor.
3 of these games were my game of the year at a certain time in the year, right? Like when Final Fantasy 7 came out, it was my game of the year for several months, and then Astrobot came out, and then it was my game of the year, and then Metaphor came out, and then that was my game of the year. So that's my 3 I would pick. And then Black Myth Wukong was always in my top 5, and Shadow of the Tree is DLC as we talked about, and Balatro I never played, but Metaphor is the best game I think, and I'd vote for it. But is it gonna win? God, I something tells me Shadow of the Tree is gonna win this because
There's no other reason. There's no other reason to fucking put it here if they're not having it win. I'm gonna be so pissed because
I don't
even care that it's Elden Ring. I don't give a shit that it's Elden Ring.
I can't even say I'll be pissed because I love Elden Ring so much. It's like my top 10 game of all time. Like I love Elden Ring.
I just hate the
but I don't like it. But I don't like it.
Make a DLC category. How tough is that?
But like I can't say I'm pissed. I have like very mixed opinions about it because I don't think DLC should be here. And if it wins, I won't be upset. But I don't think it should be in this category. So I'm very mixed about it. So I'm gonna say I'll just say Metaphor is gonna win, and I'll vote for Metaphor. I already voted for Metaphor.
Sure.
Let's just go from there. All right. Is that everything for the game of the year?
That is everything. We've spent over an hour on this, so that is everything.
More than that. Now, I was gonna ask because I'm running out of time. Can we move what we're playing to next week? Because I'm sure I can do another 40 minutes of conversation because we're already over 2 hours. Is that possible?
That's true. It's possible. I guess we could do it next week. How much time do you have left?
I might have 20 minutes. I mean, I can go fast, but I don't want to like rush Neva and everything.
Yeah, I don't think we can do it in 20 minutes. I probably have that would not this would take more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, I
Do you
think.
want to just quickly talk about my new laptop and just end there, or is that a weird place to end and you just want to talk about it next
Well,
week?
how about this? I'll talk about what I've been playing next week, and you can hit on the laptop and Neva to close it out.
Okay, right, because
If
we have
that's
Neva
okay.
as the thumbnail.
If that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine. It's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
So Dory got a new laptop, which is I went through the whole process with her of how to get it, and it was a
Go back
challenge.
and forth.
But I'm glad you
Yes.
got it. I'm glad you finally in the 40 series atmosphere with us, sphere with us.
Right.
And it's a game changer, I'd imagine, because you basically went from the Stone Age to the modern age. Because
Right.
you use like a 1650, which is like really old. That's like less than the PS5, I think. So you really
Yeah.
came a long way. And I'm at, how has it been so far? Like, have you been?
It's been incredible. So the first thing I did was I was like, well, if I'm not gonna go big, then I may as well go home, right? So here was the whole process, right? Real quick in a nutshell. I for a long time I was considering using a credit card, or I was considering doing monthly payments, but I just kept running into these hurdles, and then I was like thinking about getting a loan. And then eventually I just got money from a retirement fund that at one point I was like forced to put money into. And that plus my college money plus my paycheck, it was no brainer. So I went to BJ's, my local BJ's, and they had like a really good deal on a 40. I don't remember exactly what all the specs are. I'll get them out in a second. But it was really good. It was like I want to say 900 for the laptop I got. And I really enjoyed, once I booted it up, I mean, it worked really well. I was able to play Black Myth Wukong on not just high settings, but like cinematic settings. The recommended was very high. And then eventually I was like, okay, well, this is working really well. Let me see what I can do. So here's what it is. It's an Acer Nitro V 15.6-inch gaming laptop. It's got an Intel Core i9 processor, 16 gigs of memory, 512 gigabyte SSD, and it's a 4060, which again, from what Seb said, I went from like a 1680 or some shit, 1640, I don't even remember, to a 4060. That's not quite top of the line. I think 4080 is top of the line, or maybe even 50.
4090.
Um, 4090. But I mean, it's in the 40s. I ran Wukong flawless. Now, I didn't do any boss fights, but I did fight like your general minions. See what it was. I didn't want to start a boss fight, which I mean, there's basically none for me to start anyway. And I didn't want to start a boss fight and then get like really locked in, like I had to win or some bullshit. So I just fought minions. I put it on cinematic. It worked beautifully. I played some games this weekend, mostly indie games. I did play Ghost of New Eden, and that ran beautifully as well.
Did you put the
So
frame?
yeah,
Did you put the frame rate number on, or did you check the frame rate? Were you like doing that
I
kind of
did.
stuff?
I think I had frame generation. I didn't turn it on, but it was like default on. I think I was getting like almost 100 frames per second. I think I was getting like upper 80s, lower 90s.
One of us.
Uh, so it was awesome. And still plenty of money for rent. It's just a great situation for me. My partner has
Yeah.
a BJ's membership, so that worked out great. She
Yeah.
was actually the one who told me about it. And I was like, she's like, isn't this the exact one that you were looking for? So
Yeah.
they didn't have one of those like cards or whatever where all the laptops were, so I had to go to the
Yeah.
back. But yeah, it's been great.
It's one. Yeah, it's not top of the line, but it's gonna last you a long time because you're not somebody that has to have the best of the best. Is obsessed with that
Correct.
kind of stuff. So that should last you a good while. I know the 50 series comes out next year and everything, but you don't have to have that because most games don't. Most games don't even use a 4090. Like it's so
Right.
overpowered. Like it's ridiculous. So most people that have Steam don't even don't even have high end computers. They have very mid computers. So you have a really good computer. You're gonna have a blast with it. So I'm happy for you. All right. So can you talk about Neva for us,
Yeah.
please?
So we'll end tonight with Neva. Seb's running out of time, and I'm running out of voice. So Seb and I both played Neva. I'm pronouncing it like Neva because that's the way I heard it when she pronounced it.
She says Neva
I
in the game. I'm pretty sure she says Neva, Neva. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. I just played it
I
yesterday.
heard Neva.
I played it yesterday.
And
But
I played it a couple days ago, so I don't know.
I don't know. Go ahead.
We've got Bernstein bullshit going on over here.
Yeah.
Um, Regardless, whatever you want to call it, it is a really pretty game. It's by the same people who made it's Nomada Studios. They made Grease as well,
Mm-hmm.
which had another fucking debate about how it was pronounced Gris or Grease or
That's true.
whatever.
That's their.
They just can't pick a fucking
That's their shtick.
straightforward name.
That's their shtick.
This shtick, yeah, this shtick.
Controversial, like pronunciation of their game's name.
Right, absolutely.
That's her thing. Yeah.
So I will say about this game compared to Grease, better gameplay, but diminishing returns on what made Grease so good. For me, it's still a great game. It's not in my top 10, but it's a great game. I loved Grease. At the time, I was so blown away by how it looked and how it played and the kind of storytelling it was doing. This is more of the same. So naturally, it's going to have diminishing returns. That said, I mean, like I said, Seb and I were having a discussion about this. I was like, I'm angry about how beautiful this fucking game is. I took so many screenshots. I think I took like 20 screenshots in a 4-hour game. And he's like, you better not punch your new laptop. I just, this game is so gorgeous. I was a little confused by the ending, which I won't talk about too much. The gameplay is good. It's very basic. I found myself dying a lot. You only have 3 hits, and it's very easy to lose health. I found either because you don't understand the platforming, not sure which way you're going, or you're just unfamiliar with the enemy design. So I found it very easy to die, but it wasn't like hard. I'm not saying, oh, this is the Dark Souls of
Look at the
Yamada,
checkpoints are very forgiving, right? So
yeah. The checkpoints weren't
it's
too
not
bad.
a big deal.
The
checkpoints are fine. Yeah.
The only time I complained about the checkpoints is during the chase scenes, where if you messed up once, you had to start all the way back at the beginning. But those were far and few between, and even then, it wasn't like horrible or anything. It was just a little annoying. Yeah, I don't know what your experience was, but that was basically mine. It's like a 4 out of 5 or 4.25 out of 5, something like that.
Yeah.
Great game for sure.
I really like Grease, but I do think at times it's boring. Like there's some of the puzzle. I'm not a big puzzle person, I suppose, and the platforming I just didn't hit with me. I really like that game. I think it's gorgeous, and I appreciate what it is. But I do think at times that game is boring. And I don't have to. I might get hate for that, but it's not perfect. Anyway, this game does the gameplay much better than Grease. But the gameplay, as you said, is very simple. A lot of just slash your sword and dodge and roll, basically. The gliding's really nice. I think the platforming is mostly clean, but there are times where they want you to get a collectible or something, and it's like way up there, and it for whatever reason she doesn't register with the platform, and she falls down. I'm like, I swear I jumped on that platform correctly, and for whatever reason she did not land. Like the hitbox of the platforming is a little off sometimes. Not a big deal, but it does happen at times. I think the visuals right off the bat is the best part of the game. I mean, that's the main selling point. It's one of the most beautiful games, as we talked about already.
Ever.
Yeah, I mean that's why we're talking about best art direction, because like the art direction in this game is incredible. I love the mix of the seasons. I love that. Like I love the idea of it because like in the beginning you get the summertime and it's very, you get like the sunflowers and you get the green forest area, and then at night it's blue and it looks really pretty. And then you have the fall and the winter and all that stuff. So the seasons are like really cool. Like the fall, it has all the orange and it's very unique and very cool looking. It's a game you take a screenshot for everything.
Yes, I will say winter was my least favorite season. I know it's supposed to be dark and it's supposed to be the height of like the
Yeah,
drama in the game,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there's not supposed to be it's all thematic. I understand,
Hmm.
but it just wasn't as eye grabbing or as pretty for me.
Yeah, for sure. Thematically, winter's always like death and destruction and
Right.
things like stuff like that. Um, but the visuals are incredible. The gameplay is simple. It's not the best gameplay. Uh, but it's not bad because it doesn't overstay its welcome. I think. I feel like the length is
Correct.
fine. It's like
I
four
think for
hours.
me it was like, yeah, 4.5 hours for me.
Yeah, which is a really good length for this kind of game.
Correct.
It's not like a $45-$60 game or anything like that. It's reasonably priced. Um, I think everybody should play it. If you love indie games, like this is one of the must-play indie games of the year, the must-play games period. But you have to know what you're getting into. If you're more of a cinematic person and you don't really care for like indie like narrative, you know, colorful. You know what I'm talking about, like that kind of genre. Like Grease is very niche, right? Like
Right.
like you and I love those kind of games, but like if you're like
Correct.
if you like The Last of Us or God of War, you're probably not gonna you might not be into this kind of game. You have to know what you're getting into. This is a very cinematic in terms of the visuals, like indie narrative, like storytelling, where like there's not really any dialogue, if any, right? It's just everything's done through visual storytelling, and like the most talking is like her just calling out to the wolf, right? Is it, so you just know what you're getting into is what I'm saying. This one not it's not gonna be for everybody, but it is a fantastic experience. I strongly recommend it. If you want to wait for a sale, it will be on sale at some point. Greasy is like $3 now, not even. It's like $2, $1 on Steam sales. So I think to me it's the most pretty indie game of the year. You can say it's the best, most pretty game of the whole year of all the games, but I don't know. That one is debatable for me, as we talked about. But I think it's a really good game, and I think it's worth playing. And yeah, I think it's worth. I think it's worth playing. That's basically what I'm saying. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we finish, or is there anything else?
No, I mean, don't expect a lot. In terms of the gameplay,
Yeah, gameplay
I
is the biggest
enjoyed
problem
it.
with it. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I thought the gameplay was better than it was in Greece, but that doesn't mean it's great. It's just good. It's an improvement over Greece, but it's not anything really to, that's not the point of the fucking game, so I don't really care. I know we
yeah.
usually say gameplay is king, but gameplay is not the
Did
point of this
Greece even
game.
have combat? I don't remember. I haven't played the game
No,
so
it
long.
didn't. It absolutely did not.
Yeah.
Well, I'm almost positive it didn't. Does somebody correct
I
me?
don't I don't
But
recall, yeah, any combat in that
it
game.
had gameplay in that it had platforming and it had puzzle solving, which I found not generally, sometimes annoying. I will say my biggest problem with Greece is that sometimes you just don't know what the fuck is going on. The game tries to be very minimalistic, and I have the same problem with Greece where you just don't know where the hell you're supposed to go.
You mean Neva?
So a lot of my deaths are just like me, like jumping into the fucking abyss.
You mean Neva, right? Like,
Or never, yeah. Just like Greece, though. I'm saying like
yeah, yeah,
Neva is sometimes there's a lack of direction,
yeah. No worries.
which is intentional because it's supposed to be minimalistic, but it can be annoying.
Yeah. So overall, visuals are great. Combat's very simple. I guess it could be better, but it's fine. Storytelling is awesome. Really good soundtrack. Like it's just very calming, very cool. Biggest problem I have with the gameplay is very simple, and you get lost easily. Like the direction is not very clear, which is the big problem I had with Greece. As Dory said, and the
They did
platforming,
not improve on that. Yeah.
yeah, and the platforming can be a little hit or miss sometimes. Like sometimes I swear I jumped on it correctly, and she just didn't register, and she falls.
I like. Oh, I will say I like the story, but it doesn't blow me away or
Yeah, it's
anything.
a good story, but it's nothing like. There's better stories this year than that. So
Yeah, and I saw the secret ending you get if you collect all the seeds. I don't really think it's worth it, but I
yeah,
guess some people might. I didn't really care for the ending anyway. Like it was fine, I guess. I had to like look it up to really understand what the fuck was going on.
yeah,
Uh,
it's very
but
simple. They keep it.
but yeah,
Their games are always very minimalistic with the story and everything like that. It's just,
yes.
but it's not my top 10. But it's in my top 5 indie games, I would say. But that's its own list. This year was not big indie. This was not really an indie year for me. Like I normally have like maybe 2 or 3 indie games in my top 10, but this year, not really. I don't have any indie games in my top 10 this year. So anyway, that's Neva. We both recommend it. Just know what you're getting into. Don't expect like a cinematic AAA kind of game. It's very indie, cutesy music, very sad moments as well. Simple gameplay. It's all about the visuals. So be prepared to take a lot of screenshots. And it's one of those games where I really love that it exists because like video games are art, and this is one of those examples I would say video games are art, and this is like we need these kind of games to exist. Basically, what I'm saying. So it's a very important game, at least. All right, so that's our show. I know it was a long one, but that was like 2 weeks of catching up, and the Game Awards was a huge topic. And next week we'll see what comes out. I think it's the week. Oh yeah. So next week is the week right before the Game Awards, so it's not going to be about the Game Awards. So it's a good week.
Right.
It's a good week to talk about other games that we've been playing because there's not much going on. I don't imagine there'll be a lot of news because it's close to the Game Awards, but we'll see. I guess.
Right. That next episode will probably be a lot of talking about the games we've been playing the last month or so.
Yes,
And
and
that's
then
about it.
and I believe
Maybe one or two news.
I believe Marvel Rivals comes out the time we do an
Oh,
episode.
right.
So we'll see.
What about Indiana Jones? Is that after?
That's after. That's gonna be in the Game
Okay.
Awards topic. Yeah, Game
Okay.
Awards episode. All right, so just to wrap it up, next week we talked about. The week after is Game Awards topic and the Indiana Jones, and the week after that is our top 10 games of the year, and then we'll be off the rest of the year, which is only a week. And then we'll be back in January, of course. So,
Yep.
all right. Thanks for joining me, Dory. You have a good night. Enjoy your Black Friday if you're doing any more shopping. And I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And good night. Peace.
Gobble gobble, everybody.